Someone asked me this morning, why is it that I am still watching Star Trek Strange New Worlds? We are 6 episodes into season 3, and I am not enjoying the show. It has just been getting worse and worse. And despite my feeling that the show has had potential when it started, it has ultimately gotten worse. It started badly and it's gone downhill since then. So people want to know why I'm still watching the show. Um, you know, I'm not into so-called hate watching. Let's just put that out there for one thing. But my response to this person was basically that odds are that I'm most likely going to stop watching the show after this week's What Is Starfleet episode, which will be premiering tomorrow. I am guessing, predicting, prognosticating. Call it a spoiler warning, if you will. Let's see, if my crystal ball holds true on this. But I think it's going to be nothing more than a shoddy remake of the episode entitled Heroes from Season 7 of Stargate SG-1. Most of Season 3 of Strange New Worlds has been nothing but shoddy remakes and remixes of things we've seen before. I mean, okay, let's do Trelane again. Let's do stuff which, I mean, it's kind of topical. Let's mirror real world things going on in the U.S. military with grooming standards and uniform regulations. Let's do that. Hey, that show The Last of Us is pretty popular. Let's do a zombie episode. Let's have space zombies. But instead of having fungus-based zombies like in The Last of Us, let's do moss zombies in our episode. And then let's have an episode that's like Indiana Jones meets, what was that movie? What was it? Event Horizon. Let's do that. Let's have, the hell demons come into Star Trek. And then the holodeck episode, oh my goodness. Where in the world is La'an San Diego? So Elementary, my dear La'an San Diego. That's all that was. And they're just redoing things we've seen before and just not well. And there's just so many things that are contradictory to things we've seen previously in Star Trek. So much canon breaking. So many things that don't make sense. Sure, it's science fiction, but in universe, Star Trek has its own scientific principles, and we're seeing things that don't go along, that don't make sense scientifically based on Star Trek's in-universe science, much less real-world science, and things aren't passing the common sense sniff test either, okay? So, as I said, I'm not into the so-called hate watching, and I am definitely not planning to watch next week's episode, which is going to be another untrek-like abomination where they just use Vulcans as the butt of jokes for flaming space racism and slapstick comedy. It's ridiculous. It's insulting, and it's lame and heavy-handed and unoriginal. And I mean, next week, season 3, episode 8. Can you imagine if instead they were to have an episode with that basic premise, but instead they had La'an, Pike, Scotty, Chapel, and Pick-a-Kirk, and they called it 4.5 white people instead of doing 4.5 Vulcans? It's insulting. I don't know who is coming up with this stuff, but these are definitely people that either don't get Star Trek or they just don't like Star Trek. I don't know what they're doing. They if they like science fiction, they should continue to write science fiction, but call it something else. And you get these people that want to be apologists for this stuff, and they're like, well, it's a prequel, so they can do what they want. Like, okay, well, that's like saying that in the Star Wars prequels, because what we've seen already that is in the future, that is their future history. We have to remember Star Trek is not our real world future history, but within the universe there are established events. So these are people that are basically saying, okay, it's a prequel, so you can do whatever you want and it doesn't matter and it's okay. It's like, all right, well, in that case, let's just say that at some point in the prequels, Palpatine decided to have a sex change, and we eventually get Empress Palpatina. Or that Anakin Skywalker was so depressed and forlorn from Padme's initial rejections that he commits suicide, and that there is no Darth Vader in the original trilogy anymore. And we have Empress Palpatina and Darth Tyrannus, because Anakin's not there to, chop off Dooku's head in his hands. Does that make sense at all? Who would go along with saying something like that? It's ridiculous. All right, that's what I'm saying. Thanks for watching. Drop your thoughts in the comments, and I appreciate you sticking with it this long.